Welcome to a demonstration of SimDocEMR from Health Professions Education Solutions. We have made quite a few changes for the 2021 version, also known as version 3. We have made it easier to navigate, both for the students and for the administrator, and we've also made it a little bit easier for you to add new simulations and new patient records. And also we have kind of decluttered, got rid of the things you don't really need, and made it an overall cleaner appearance. I'm going to start by showing you the student side, where you go in and a student would do a simulation and review the patient records. We now have 3 ways in which you can find the patient record or the simulation. By clicking this button here, you can either scan using a barcode scanner, and the barcode images are provided for you. I'm going to start by entering. That's the second way in which you can enter a patient record, is by manually entering in the patient's number. I'm going to close that and show you the third way. You can click on this by click Find a Patient, and you have all of your patient records and all of your simulations that are in here. And again, this is the student side, and you can tell this by the little nursing student up at the top. We put that on all of the screens that are student screens because students are limited in what they can change and edit, and administrators have full administrative capabilities where they can go in and change and edit anything. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to look for the patient I want to look at today. And this is my click on the button. It pulls up the patient record. You have your face sheet, your Cardex, your admissions information, and if you'll notice on the face sheet, we added COVID-19 information, so we can put whether a test was done, the testing date, the results, vaccinations, and the type of vaccines. Then we go on to Cardex, admission. I'm going to skip over the physician's orders or simulation phase for now. I'll go back to that in a minute. The vitals, intake and output, care record, nursing physical assessments, where you can do a head-to-toe assessment, a pediatric assessment, an OB assessment if this is an OB patient, a med-surg assessment, and a mental health assessment. You can also, by using these buttons below, go view any previous assessments that were done for this patient. You can also print them. All of the print features in SimDocEMR go to your default printer, whether it be a hard copy printer or if you have a default set up to go to a PDF generator. That's what you will get as far as output on all the reports and everything that you print from SimDocEMR. Then we have medication administration. And the students cannot edit this part, but they can go down and they can add what medications that they administered to this patient. We have a drop down. Students can also scan a medication here, and it brings up the medication that is on our medication list, and then they can review. This is the medication I have in my hand. This is what was ordered for the patient, and check it there. If it's incorrect, they'll need to go back and start again. Then they can also print medication administration reports. Next, we have the progress notes, then the lab features, and as you can see here, we've cleaned it up and taken out a lot of the information that you just don't really need to have in here, and made it give a cleaner overall appearance. To review a blood test, we're going to click on View Blood Test Results. We're going to type in the lab ID, and see here it brings up the blood test results form for this lab that was run on this patient. Again, you'll see the little nursing student up at the top. That tells you that it's read-only and they cannot do any edits. We're going to close this. Now we're going to view your analysis results. Do here, type in our lab ID, and it comes up with our urinalysis results. If for any reason it comes up blank, that means you typed in the incorrect lab ID, so you can go back and close this and reopen it again. Now we're going to go into diagnostics, and you can see we have down here that a x-ray was ordered for this patient on their right foot. We want to view that diagnostic report, so I'm going to click on that, add in the diagnostic ID. You see it comes up with the diagnostic report. Again, it's read-only as indicated by the little nursing student up in the corner. But I want to view the image, so I'm going to double click here. It opens up all of my attachments. You can have numerous images if you want. I just want to look at this one, and you see it brings up our x-ray for this patient. So we've finished reviewing the x-ray. We're going to close. We're going to cancel out of that. We're going to close our diagnostic report, and we're finished reviewing diagnostic resources for this patient. So now we want to go and we want to look at the nursing resources. Our nursing resources are an SBAR communication worksheet. Students can click on this to create a SBAR communication worksheet for this patient. They can also print these out should they need to facilitate their simulation. Now we're going to jump back to the physician's orders or sim phase. As you can see for this patient, we have 3 simulation phases for this simulation. We've reviewed the patient's record. Now we want to click on phase 1, open it up. You can move it over here if you need to read it, and then perform the instructions that are entered in phase 1. It tells you you're at phase 1 of 3. When you're done, you click close and go to phase 2. If at any point during this simulation you need to record data such as their vitals or anything else like that, you can close it and go in, record the vitals, go back to the sim phase, and then go to the next phase and do what you need to do. So that's basically how a student would go about using SimDocEMR to run a simulation. I'm going to close the student side, and now I'm going to give you a brief look at the administrator side. Again, we have streamlined it to make it a little bit easier for you to add new patient records and new simulations. And how you access the administrator side is by clicking on our logo. It will give you an error message saying you're going to the administrator side. The reason being, when you're on the administration side of SimDocEMR, you have full edit capabilities. So if you want to view a patient's record and edit it, you can click here. If you want to add a new patient or a new simulation, we've given you some tips here. You just go to the tips, and it tells you what order in which you should add a new simulation. We suggest that you begin with the basic patient information, face sheet, cardex, admission, then to go to lab orders and results, diagnostic orders and results, and then medication orders, and then your simulation phases. So you want to get the basic patient record all set up before you begin putting in your simulation. So I'm going to click here, and you can see this is our first simulation, our first patient record in here. You can add pictures by clicking, and just like you would add an attachment to an email, you click on the little paper clip and it brings up the dialog for you to enter that. And you can migrate through your patients by going to next patient, next patient. If you want to look and search and find a patient record, you can go to previous patient. You can also find them by an MR number if you already have them in there, or you can find them by the patient's last name. Again, we have the face sheet, the cardex, the admission, the vitals, intake and output, care record, nursing PA, medication administration. And if you're inputting a new medication for this patient, you would go in here, you would use the drop down, click on it. If you want to scan a medication, you can do that as well. If you need to edit the medication that are listed, you can add or edit medication in the drop down list. You can see this all here. These are the complete list in alphabetical order of all the medications that are contained within SimDocEMR. You'll see some have a barcode and some don't. We leave that up to you. If you wish to use barcode scanning in your simulations, you can add a barcode number, then go online and print out your barcode. We use access code 128 is the barcode font that is used. And so you just go in here and you put in your number that you've assigned it to that medication, and then create your barcode image and then use that in your simulation. But once you have added a new medication, you may have to close the patient form, go back to it again, and we're going to go back and see. we've added our new medication, so you have to do that. You won't be using the progress notes. You will need to order the lab. As you can see here, we've got a new lab, and we're going to put in the date and when the physician ordered it. And you'll see here that it automatically generates a lab ID. So we're going to enter, and this is going to be a blood test. So we're going to have this as a blood test, and then you click enter blood test results that come up with a blank screen. You enter that lab ID and then the blood test results, and then you're done. You do the same way on your analysis results. Whenever you enter the orders, it generates a lab ID, and then you use that in putting in the results. The diagnostics works the same way. If I go put in, it automatically generates a new new lab ID, and then I'll click this to enter a new diagnostic report, and I enter that lab ID and begin entering the report. So it's quite a bit simpler by just going through the normal processes that you would use in adding a new patient and a new simulation. Then you go back to physician's orders sim phase. You're going to put how many are in there. Click add a physician sim orders. You're going to put in the diagnostic or the let's see, the MR number for the patient. It brings up existing. You can edit those. If you need to add a new phase, you can do that as well. You can scroll through the phases and look at them. If you need to print them out for any reason, you can do that. If you want to change some of the phases in several of your MR records and simulations, click on this. It brings up the find button, and we can look at another one, and it'll bring up their information. So you can do all of the simulation phases from right here. Now I'm going to close the patient form and go back to the administrator form, and you can see we have a button here on the right. If you just want to go in and edit simulation phases, you can do that. We also have physician information in here. Say part of your simulation is for the student to create an S-bar and then contact a physician. We have a physician's list here that you can go in and edit and change and add to. You can add medications from this area. If you need to go in and just work on your medications, adding barcodes and that stuff, you can go from the administrator side. You can also enter the lab and diagnostic testing strictly from this side, but you've got to have your lab ID. We recommend that you go through the patient record to make any changes or additions to your lab and diagnostic reports. That way it keeps it all on track, and it helps with the continuity of what you're working on. And also, after you've done a day of simulations, and you're going to have the similar simulations for the students the next day, you'll want to clear out any data or input that the students did as part of their simulation. So you go to the data maintenance section, and all of these buttons take you to the areas where a student has input information. It does not have any effect or impact on your simulation and original patient record, but it does delete and clean the simulation for future use by students. You just click on one of these buttons, and I'm not going to go through it all here, but what it does is it searches through SimDocEMR, pulls up student input, ask you, do you want to delete it? It'll ask you 3 times, and then it'll delete that information, and thereby cleaning up SimDocEMR, so you're ready for the next day of simulations. Now we want to go in here. This is if you want to print out, and again, all of the print features go to your default printer, whether it's a hard copy or a PDF generator, and that is available to you. You can print anything and everything that is in SimDocEMR by using the Print Patient Records buttons. So I'm going to close that, and we're going to get out of the administrator side, and it's ready for students to run a simulation. So this is basically how SimDocEMR has been updated and changed and modified for 2021. We believe it's a lot cleaner approach. It's a lot easier to navigate. If you would like to contact us for an individual demonstration, you can reach us at info@hpes-llc.com, or you can visit our website, hpes-llc.com, and you'll find links to videos and links to our YouTube channel that explain to you how all of our different software packages work. But we're very excited about the changes that have been made to SimDocEMR and think you'll find it very useful in your program for running simulations, because not only does it give your students concept training in EMR usage, it also provides you with a simulation bank for your program. Thank you, and please reach out to us at info@hpes-llc.com.